Howdy folks, I'm Brian, and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Mother-in-Law That I Married Her Daughter and Not Her? My mother-in-law is a kind and funny woman, though she does have a few problems with boundaries and is a little too involved in my marriage, especially now that my wife is pregnant. My wife's family aren't well off financially, and it's the opposite with my family. My family owns a factory. I'm an engineer. My wife has a job that doesn't pay well, but she's happy with it. Every time I get my wife something nice, especially jewelry, I get a call from my mother-in-law complaining that she got nothing once she finds out, even if it was my wife's birthday gift or a wedding anniversary. Holidays and other occasions aside, she'd throw a fit about how I was treating her as less than. She always comes over when she notices a new piece of furniture or any new items. She'd complain that she didn't get something similar. She sent me a picture of a very expensive necklace that she wanted me to get for her on Mother's Day. I called her to ask about it, and she said that she's been wanting it for a while and only I could afford it. When I told her I may not be able to get it, she replied that I already got my wife an expensive necklace on Sunday and I can afford this one. I didn't get her a necklace, and instead I decided to get her some fresh flowers that I picked from my late mother's garden that I trimmed and organized myself and then put into a nice vase. We visited on Sunday evening, and my mother-in-law kept on smiling till it was time for gift opening. I handed her the flowers and talked about how much time and effort I made to put everything together. She was shocked and said she thought I loved and cared enough to get her something nice, just like my wife, who technically isn't even a mother yet, and she's been a mother for 32 years. I got annoyed and said that I did not appreciate her harsh response to my gift, but she argued with me and kept talking about how much she wanted the necklace and that I could afford it just like I was able to afford one that I got my wife, but instead I chose this thoughtless, crappy gift to give to her. That made me mad. I said that I married her daughter and not her. Of course I was putting my wife first, and it's crazy that she thinks I'm obligated to treat her and my wife the same. My wife looked at me and was astonished. My mother-in-law replied that I was being mean and nasty to her on purpose and rubbing my nose and financial stability in her face and treating her as if she was greedy instead of showing her some appreciation. She went inside, looking so upset that she was almost crying, and then my wife followed her. Suddenly, everyone was staring at me. It was awkward. My wife snapped in the car telling me that I was way out of line for making her mother cry on Mother's Day, and said that she will not let my attitude cause a rift between her and her mom. I asked her if she agreed with her mom's demand, and she said no, but I went over the top and shouldn't have spoken to her that way. She said I deeply hurt my mom's feeling and should apologize. I really don't want to ruin my relationship with my mother-in-law, but I'm worried that I just did that. Edit, I saw a question about whether this was a cultural thing, and I don't know for sure. My wife's family comes from Venezuela, and my mother-in-law always tries to get me to learn more about the place she originally came from. Alright, OP. First off, I would figure out what the cultural differences are. I'm not saying that you're in the wrong in this situation. On the contrary, I think that you're not the jerk in this situation, though I do think you were a little harsher than you needed to be in the moment. I think that you could have probably turned the other cheek for just Mother's Day and then explained to her at some other point in time when maybe people had a chance to collect their tempers that you and her wife are not the same person, and that she needs to understand and learn to respect the boundaries, and that you are of course going to buy your wife gifts that you wouldn't normally get for your mother-in-law. And it sounds like your mother-in-law is aside, you say that she sounds like a wonderful person other than that, but it sounds like, she has some really hard time with boundaries, and it sounds like she doesn't know how to take no for an answer, and that seems really unhealthy. I think that you've been put in a really bad spot. Your wife should have talked to your mother-in-law a long time ago and explained the situation, but it sounds like she's not doing anything about this. So, at a certain point, I don't necessarily blame you for snapping. It sounds like you took a great deal of time, care, energy, and effort into making a nice gift for her, but she did not appreciate it. And, that's always a really hard thing. So I can certainly understand why you felt compelled to snap at that moment. Um, as for repairing the relationship with your mother-in-law, I would think that this is going to take time and energy and effort, and that maybe you should take some time and learn more about her cultural background and where she comes from, and try to understand things from that perspective. There may be some kind of social norm that you're not necessarily seeing here that, is normal for, Venezuela, but not necessarily the environment that you were growing up in. So, yeah, I think that hopefully this is just the rarity between you and your mother-in-law, but it doesn't necessarily sound like it. I think that she does need to be stood up to, and she is crossing boundaries here. And so, yeah, I just don't know if the timing was the best. So, anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, your mother-in-law obviously thinks of you as a piggy bank. Asking for all of these expensive goods now that you're married to her daughter just isn't what a mother-in-law should be doing. So not the jerk, and don't indulge your mother-in-law by buying her expensive stuff. Not the jerk. Not the jerk, but also ask your wife why she didn't step in when your mother-in-law was being beyond rude about your gift. If she'd rather be a rug sweeper, she'll have to deal with it if you're not. Your mother-in-law may be kind and funny, but she's also very weirdly entitled and immature, and also kind of greedy. I mean, who, after the age of like 5, thinks that they're entitled to something nice just because 1, someone else got something nice, and 2, they really want it? And what's up with your wife never saying anything to her mom about how utterly inappropriate her comments are? Then getting mad at you for not sticking up for yourself. Honestly, OP, you and your wife need to have a really calm and thoughtful but serious conversation about this. Yeah. If she doesn't want you to defend your 100% reasonable boundaries and defend yourself from your mother-in-law's really ungrateful and again weird comments, she needs to put a stop to it herself, immediately and unequivocally. Yeah, I mean, that definitely seems like a reasonable point of view. I do think that she needs to step in and talk to her mother and get things sorted, and they do need to have a nice sit down and calm conversation about the boundary violations that mother-in-law are, are having in this situation. So I think this commenter really hit the nail on the head here. All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for sleeping in the guest bedroom because of my boyfriend's annoying morning schedule? Hi all, I'm a 23-year-old female and I moved in with my boyfriend, a 28-year-old male of 2 years at the start of March, and so far it hasn't been too good. This is due to the fact that my boyfriend has started a new morning schedule where he wakes up at 3 a.m., then goes to the gym for an hour or two. He doesn't need to wake up that early because he usually starts work around noon. He explained to me that all of the big CEOs wake up at 3. The problem is that when he gets up, he also wakes me up because of his alarm, and then he is so loud when he's getting ready. Literally zero consideration for me. I don't fall back to sleep until he leaves the house, and then when he comes back, I get woken up again when he comes into the bedroom to change his clothes. Sometimes he purposely wakes me up because he's bored. Having my sleep being constantly disrupted every single night is getting on my nerves big time. I've told him plenty of times that he needs to be quieter in the morning, but he doesn't seem to really care. So last night, I went into the guest room to sleep. As soon as I did this, he started an argument about how dramatic I am and said he doesn't want to have to cater to me because it's his house. I explained to him that the only way I will get a good quality sleep is if I'm in a separate bedroom, but he began saying that I'm his girlfriend and not a housemate, and I may as well go back home to my parents if I'm going to sleep in the guest bedroom. Anyway, he's still annoyed with me because I slept in the guest room, and he thinks it's disrespectful to do so. So, am I a jerk? Alright, OP. I mean, lots of couples sleep in separate bedrooms. So why is it disrespectful if you want to sleep in a different room, especially when you two have completely separate sleep schedules? And also, like, what? His whole definition of a relationship, and there's no point in having you around unless you're sleeping in the same bed? Really? Really? That's a really gross take on a relationship. Oh, you're not really you would only be a roommate if you did not sleep in the same room as me, is a kind of gross take, I think. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, if you can sleep in the same bed as your partner, then that's by all means something that you should be able to do. But if you two are so fundamentally incompatible in your sleeping habits that his sleep is interrupting yours and you're not getting a good night's sleep, then you two need to figure something out that's going to work for you. Either one, he needs to be more considerate, or two, honestly, I think that if this works for you and you can sleep in the guest bedroom, then sleep in the guest bedroom. So no, I don't think that you're a jerk in this situation. I think he's being unreasonable. And just because some CEOs make it big by getting up at 3 a.m. doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to also somehow become a big CEO just because he's getting up at 3 a.m. I think that right there is a bit odd of a take on it. So yeah, just because the CEO does something doesn't necessarily mean that's how they got to where they were. And, I think that's a bit short-sighted on his behalf. He should just do what makes him able to function at his highest levels. And with this attitude, he sure is acting like he's a CEO, trying to boss everyone around and trying to make you bend to his will. So, I mean, that's kind of right up the sociopathic ladder there for CEOs, right? Am I right? Maybe that's a little mean to take. A little mean of a take to put on it. Not all CEOs are sociopathic. Not all. Also, OP, it seems like your boyfriend has a lot of control issues. He seems like this, I don't necessarily think I think that this whole struggle between you and him and your sleep cycles is more about control than anything. That's what it seems like to me. It seems like he wants to control you, and force you to get up at the time that he wants you to get up at. Because why else would someone make this much noise or be this inconsiderate about getting out of bed or going back into bed? So, to me, this just seems more like a control issue than anything. And, this seems really disrespectful of your boundaries. It seems really disrespectful of you in general. It doesn't seem like he actually really cares about whether or not your needs are met. So I think that that's a pretty, big red flag there, and that you should potentially consider that when you move forward in this relationship, if you choose to move forward in this relationship. So anyhow, take care and good luck. This is not how someone acts who respects you, cares about your feelings, and wants to make sure your needs are met. You deserve a partner, not someone who sees you as an accessory that exists to please him. I am positive that this sleep issue is not the only way in which she shows that he is selfish and inconsiderate. You deserve better than this. He wants you to think that this is normal and acceptable. It is not. He is not a good boyfriend. Not the jerk. I agree, this boyfriend is bad. Go back to your parents and block him. Pick up those red flags, darling, and be grateful he dropped them before you wasted any more of your life with someone who doesn't respect you. Go back to your parents' house and dump him, not the jerk. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.